What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Powered by Primus, and in today's video I'm going to be showing off my Trypticon deck. Now this is one of my most anticipated characters coming in with Wave 4, not to mention he is a Titan, which is really awesome, but just because his mechanics, and he does get to really maximize the Revenge mechanic, which is a new mechanic coming in with Wave 4, so I'm really excited to show you guys this build. A little too quick, but it is going to be really fun. This deck has a lot of really interesting interactions that I would normally think were kind of bad cards or weird cards, but they end up having some really cool synergies in the deck, and this thing actually has the ability to get out a lot of damage and then really be able to choose where your opponent has to deal their damage, which is really cool, and then we really get to maximize these guys' abilities with a new card as well coming in with Wave 4. So this is actually a really awesome deck. There's a lot of new stuff from Wave 4 that synergizes with these guys, and I'm really excited to get into it, so let's just do it. Now, we're going to put these guys to the side here so we can talk about the big man himself, Mr. Trypticon. I'm also going to be calling this my Reptar deck just because he is a green T-Rex, and if you're a fan or watched Rugrats ever in your life, you can kind of get that reference. Now, he is a Titan, and he is ranged. Now, the range actually in this deck isn't going to make a whole lot of difference. I did have a sidebar kind of dedicated to going into the range package. However, I have just so much fun with the characters themselves, and they have a range ability that I normally want to use in a deck, so we'll get into that a little bit later. But he is a Titan in range. He is 4 attack, 30 health, and 2 armor while he is in this mode. And then he does say, start the game with these 3 characters underneath him, boom, just like Metroplex. And then additionally, he has a mechanic, or I'm sorry, an ability on here that says each of your other characters has bold 1, obviously while you're in this mode. When you go flip over to this mode, we now go up to 6 attack, which is really awesome. And then we go up to, we go down to 1 armor. Obviously keep the 30 health. It says when you flip to this mode, you may KO one of your other characters. If you do, you get to choose either this gets 3 attack, or you get to repair 3, which is really nice because you can really push a little bit of that long game, and being able to really chomp some of your characters is really nice to be able to get that heal, or if you're trying to go for that finishing hit on a character, because this guy can get in for quite a bit of damage. He just has a lot of utility and a lot of really cool things to be able to push this. Now we're going to put him off to the side here. Let's bring in our first one, who is going to be Wipeout. Now Wipeout, well, in this mode, has 3 attack, 6 health, and 0 armor. And then it does say, Revenge on this side, draw a card if you have Trypticon on the battlefield. Here, we're going to zoom in real quick. Dun, dun, dun. Boom. Alright, so it does say that you get to draw a card if you have Trypticon on the battlefield. Boom, we're going to flip over to this side, and it does Revenge as well. 3 attack, 6 health, 0 armor, and then it does say that you get to draw 2 cards when this is KO'd while you have Trypticon on the battlefield. So really awesome stuff. Boom. Next one coming in here is going to be Full Tilt. Full Tilt is a card, melee. I also missed it. He is ranged on both modes. And then this does say he has 2 attack, 5 health, 1 armor. Revenge on this one is deal 1 damage to an enemy if you have Trypticon on the battlefield, and then boom. In this mode, when you get KO'd, then you get to deal 2 damage to an enemy. So this kind of has that range card that I was talking about, and really that specific damage that I always want to try to make sure I have in the deck for certain characters, or really that finishing damage, because nothing is worse than having to go with a big attack into a character for 1 or 2 points of damage. Really sucks. So this is really nice. Not to mention, we're going to have multiple ways of getting this ability off. So we're going to be having a lot of fun with that. So that is him. And then the last one's Brunt coming in, and he does have 3 attack, 3 health, and 3 armor, which is a lot like Slammer from the Metroplex deck. And then it says Revenge, you get to scrap an enemy weapon or armor. And then if we flip to the other mode, just kidding, there's no other mode. Alright, so let's go ahead and zoom back a little bit here. Boom. Now, the first thing we're going to do, and you guys are probably really curious as to how in the heck we're going to manage to get these characters out, and that is going to be with Battlefield Incursion. Now, Battlefield Incursion is going to be a 3 of in the deck. It is probably the most important card in the deck because you have to get it to deploy the little characters. Now, the benefit is it is a green battle icon card, which means it do allow us to get it at the end of combat, and then it is an action, and it says deploy a character from under Trypticon. Now, the other benefit to this card is that the fact is that you don't have to flip Trypticon for the turn. So if you really want to set up one of those revenge mechanics from one of those characters, you can actually flip that character for the turn, which is really, really nice. In addition is that you can bring Trypticon out, you can flip him, and then you can munch the character and be able to repair or get +3 attack, and then you're in for base 9, and then you also get the revenge mechanic from that side too. So that can be a kind of a really cool little thing that you can do there. However, you absolutely have to get to these cards. So one thing that you did notice on that one Trypticon side is that it did say your other characters do have bold 1. This is really nice, and we're really going to be maximizing a lot of the bold here because we have to be getting through our deck to be able to see these cards, because if we don't, we're just going to lose. He doesn't really get to defend for a whole lot, and unlike Metroplex, where you can flip on the next turn and bring out a little character, he does not. So if you do not get this card, then your opponent is going to continuously be able to attack into your character over and over and over and over. So we have to get to that card. Now the next three coming in, which is also going to be a card that you get from Metroplex, is going to be Height Advantage. This card is super awesome. Absolutely love it. First off, it really fits two things that we're trying to do. It first off gives us a blue pip, which is nice because this is going to be more of a truly mixed pip deck. I have greens, I have oranges, I have blues, and I have blacks. So we're kind of all over the board. I think I'm actually like super light on whites, or maybe I don't even have any whites, so it would be interesting. But this does give us that blue battle icon helping us out on defense, and then does give one of our Titans bold 4. Now, like I said, this did come with the Metroplex deck, so that is how you do get this card, but it does give us that bold 4, which is really nice. It is just a little weird that it does have only Metroplex art on there, but obviously, again, it came with the Metroplex box, so I would imagine that it would have Metroplex on there. It just, we don't get the Trypticon art, which is a little sad. Now the next two coming in here, really kind of just pushing that bold some more, is going to be a 2 copies of Supercharge. Supercharge is an orange battle icon, and it does give us bold 3. Again, we're really trying to make sure we see those battlefield incursions, so we're trying to get those bold. Not to mention we do kind of run mixed pips like I did talk about, so the extra damage can be nice as well. Now the next two coming in here is going to be Brainstorm. Now Brainstorm is actually a card that I didn't think was going to fit in here by any means. I play tested this deck originally a bunch of times. I believe you guys also did get to see it on stream when I did play it. Very different version of the deck, but I ended up adding these after the fact because I always found myself needing to play an additional action. The one disadvantage to this battlefield incursion is that you do have to use your action for the turn to deploy a character. Well, there are multiple times when I want to do something else, or I want to get something else going, and the Brainstorms just kind of open that door for us to be able to play some of those cards on top of also playing our incursion. And then if we don't, then we can double stack, you know, some of these bold cards or whatever else we're trying to do, and maybe possibly get a really nice knockout on a character if we do indeed fact get that attack. The one thing that is that you can be 4 wide, assuming that you are getting your battlefield incursions over and over and over. So luckily you shuffled correctly, or we're playing the right bold, to where we're able to get all those different things to where you get to munch on whoever you want with Trypticon at the end. Usually we're also going to remain in our alt mode, not in our bot mode, just because we're going to be able to really try to flip him on the turn we want to get in for big damage. I'll talk about sequencing obviously at the end of the video, like I normally do. The next one coming in here is going to be a Vaporize. It is just a blue battle icon, which does allow us to scrap any upgrade. It's just really nice to be able to get any of those pesky armors, utilities, weapons off of our opponent's side of the field if they are having to, let's say, draw more off a pocket processor, or if they're getting in for big damage with, you know, let's say a laser cutlass or whatever the case is. It just really allows us to get those cards out of our way. Next one coming in here is a one of is going to be Treasure Hunt. Now Treasure Hunt is just nice because we do run some very specific upgrades that we do want to see in the deck as well. And just being able to get us there a little quicker is really nice. Plus it is an orange battle icon, which does help us out on that attack sequence. And then again, we do get to dig 4 deeper into our deck. Now the one disadvantage to this card that I would tell you to make sure that you do pay attention to how many incursions are in your hand and your scrap in your deck, because if you flip an incursion with this, you cannot get it. Because it is not considered combat, the green pip is not in effect. So make sure you are very careful as to when you play this card. Even if you have an incursion in your hand and you're fine, then you can definitely go for it to try to dig a little deeper, but make sure you don't flip your incursions with it because it can really suck. Next one coming in here is a one of is going to be Sparring Gear. I do like this because I think the deck is primarily blue, I guess, or I would say heavier on the blue side. If I did have to pick a primary pip color with the deck, it is definitely going to be blues. This is really nice because it is an orange and a green, so it's that orange pip really helping us out when we're trying to get in for that extra damage because our little characters do swing for so little. So we are going to be making sure that we're trying to get those orange pips in, or that pierce, which we'll talk about. And then that green pip is really nice because we're allowed to pick it up, and then hopefully on the turn that our opponent gets to finally go back into Trypticon, we get to play this on him, help him survive a little longer. You can also play it on the littler characters, but I will tell you that their life is very low. You guys got to saw that in the beginning. It is pretty easy to KO those characters, so if you know you're not going to survive from an opponent's attack, do not play this on your littler characters. It is definitely designed for Trypticon. Put that there. Next one coming in here is going to be Smelt. Smelt is an awesome card. I talk about it pretty much in all of my deck profile videos. Most of the time it is a one of in almost every single list just because it is really nice. First off, it's a blue and a green battle icon, allowing us to get that one extra on defense, green to be able to pick it up. You guys are seeing that we're having quite a bit of bold here, but we're also having quite a bit of green here, and it's because we really get to see all these cards because we're flipping through our deck so quick that these green pips are really nice to be able to pick up. And then it does say that your opponent chooses an upgrade and scraps it. Now your opponent does get to choose the upgrade, so make sure you are careful and don't, use this when your opponent has like a bashing shield down, because then they're going to get to be able to shuffle that bashing shield back away and eventually get it on you. But it is really nice just to be able to get any of those pesky upgrades, especially if your opponent just happens to play one really good one for the turn and then comes back to you. Well, the Smelt is the only target for that upgrade, so then you can just go for it and do that. Now the next two coming in here are going to be the Bigger They Are. Now this card is really awesome because we do have such little characters. I believe they're all 4 stars. Yep, they are all 4 stars, so you'll be able to pretty much win the Pierce or having your opponent have more stars, unless you're going up against like Constructicons, a couple of the new characters that are Micromasters or whatever else, they are 4 stars as well. But most of the time you are going to be proccing this. This does give you that +2 attack and Pierce 4, which is really, really nice. Sometimes we need to get that Pierce 4 in, or maybe this will give us up to 5 attack and we flip a Black Pip, and then now we're getting in for Pierce 5. So it's really nice stuff just to be able to help those little characters actually be doing something other than wanting them to get KO'd, be from the revenge mechanic. We can get in for some of that damage as well, which is really nice. And then again, I kind of talked about with the Brainstorm, sometimes we want to play 2 actions in the same turn. It's really nice to play an Incursion here, and I get to bring out one of the little characters, and then also give him Pierce in the same turn to really be able to hit our opponent. It can be really nice plays. Now the next one coming in here as a 3 of is going to be Involuntary Promotion. Now this card is amazing in the deck. It really is. First off, it is a Black Pit battle icon. It is a new wave 4 card, and it does say that you get to, here, I'll just kind of show it off here. If we happen to have our one character out, we can play Involuntary Promotion. We can bring a character back from the KO area. We get to swap all damage, all upgrades to this character, and then KO this character, which obviously then is going to give us that revenge mechanic. Now this is really nice for those turns that we want to maximize what we're going to be doing in our turn. Let's say our opponent has an armor that's really annoying and they have a character that has a couple of health left. What we can easily do for this turn is play Involuntary Promotion. We can move our stuff over to here. You can get rid of this character, which will do the 2 damage that you need to finish off a character, and then you can flip Trypticon. You can eat your brunt to get rid of their armor or weapon or whatever else, and then you can choose to go for the +3 attack, and then you get to get in for a big amount of damage to be able to do that effect, which is really, really cool. I've been able to proc these characters multiple times in a turn just because of the Involuntary Promotion. The other cool part is that it does also transfer over that damage that we talked about. So if you happen to have 4 damage here on your full tilt, well, if you move 4 damage over to your brunt actually gets KO'd as well. So there is another card I'm going to be showing off, I guess, here in a second, that really pushes this interesting combo that no one's really been talking about. I'm going to be showing you guys it today, but allows you to get crazy amount of star cards from outside of the game, which is cool, but you get to move that over and get the double revenge mechanic, which is really, really fun. There is tons of different things that we can do here with this Involuntary Promotion, and it again can proc any of our characters because they all have 4 stars, so you really get to just move people back and forth. The other part is if you happen to have a tapped character, so again, let's say that we have Brunt who's tapped and we want to bring back a character for another swing for the turn, maybe we didn't get an Incursion, we can Involuntary Promotion, we can get Brunt out of here, we can bring in Full Tilt, who is now untapped, and we can now attack with Full Tilt, leaving our Trypticon safe. Our opponent now has to go into this character, and then we get to make sure that we protect Trypticon as much as possible so he can chomp on whoever he needs to chomp on. So that is another really cool thing. And then again, it does bring over any upgrades that are on the characters. I'll be talking about one here in a second. That's really awesome as well. So it just allows you to really be able to maximize what you want to be doing, and you really can be using these characters' revenge abilities honestly whenever you want and however you want, which is where a lot of the utility from this deck can come into play, because you get to choose how you get to make things work rather than being like, well, if my opponent doesn't KO this character, I guess I'm not going to be able to do anything about it. You can always KO your own characters, bring different characters back if the ones that are out kind of suck. So it is a super, super awesome ability, and this card really lets you push that. Now the next one coming in is going to be Relentless Invasion. Now, if you did notice, if you guys did ever check out Trypticon, he is 24 stars, so we are allowed 1 star card. Well, Relentless Invasion is going to be that star card. This thing is absolutely awesome. It is first off a white and orange and a blue battle icon, so it really fits anything, whether it's flipping it on attack or defense. Always a great card. It says if you have Trypticon Assault base on the battlefield, you can put Full Tilt, Wipeout, and Brunt from the KO area fully repaired back into play. So this only brings in the characters that are KO'd. So if you have no characters KO'd, this doesn't bring anybody back. However, if all 3 are KO'd, then you get to bring all 3 of them back. The other really cool part is that they come back in the mode that they were KO'd in. They do not come back in their alt modes. However, they are KO'd, you get to bring them back. One thing I don't know if you guys know about is you can flip characters in your KO for your turn. So even if this character happened to get KO'd early game, but you don't like that, you can choose to flip this in your KO area, and then when you play this Relentless Invasion, it can come back in this mode. You can also just play the card, bring it back, and then flip for the turn. So either way. Now the next thing about the card is that those characters that are put onto the battlefield this way, so only the characters that are brought back from the KO, they get to attack this turn. Now this does not take away your attack for the turn. So if you do happen to bring these 2 characters back, you do get to swing with them. You still can swing with a third, I'm sorry, yes, you still technically have to swing with a 3rd character for the turn. The other thing about the card is that these characters that do come back from the KO area get to attack this turn. Now this does not take away your attack for the turn. You still can attack with a 3rd character. So let's say we happen to have Wipeout, Full Tilt, and Brunt all come back in, then those characters are going to have to attack, and then if you have Trypticon still untapped, then you can just let that one go, or you can attack with Trypticon. It is optional. So that is one thing that is very important, is to make sure that you're not just going kind of all sideways and then your opponent gets to go crazy on you. Although this is one card that acts a lot like an all-out attack, you can get that as long as those characters are coming back from the KO area. And then at end of turn, you get to put each of those characters that are still on the battlefield under your Trypticon. And then essentially you get to restart. You try to go back for your battlefield incursions and bring those characters back. The other cool part, and I haven't really been able to get clarification on this, is that the character at the end of the attack, let's say they're in alt mode, or sorry, bot mode, they do go back under Trypticon in the same mode. So when you happen to play Battlefield Incursion again, they are going to come back out. As far as I know, there is nothing that says that they have to return to their original alt mode while they are underneath Trypticon. That is a starting thing that they have to start in this mode. However, the Relentless Invasion does not specify. So I'm pretty sure they come back in this mode, which is really nice because then you can Battlefield Incursion, bring these characters out, you can chomp one, and then you are getting the massive benefit from the revenge, because the revenge is obviously doubled while it is in bot mode versus while it's in alt mode. So really, really awesome stuff that this card can do. It is a star card. There are going to be ways for us to go get more star cards, because if you can proc this thing 1 or twice in a game, you're probably going to be winning the game. So it's really, really good stuff. We are going to be getting more of these. Now the last 2 coming in here are going to be Coop, however you want to say it. I say Coop. I'm pretty sure that's how it is pronounced. But it is a Black Pip card. It is a new card coming in with Wave 4, and it does say, it is a secret action. It does say reveal when a character is KO'd. Now this is very specific. It does not say when an opponent's character is KO'd or when one of your characters is KO'd. It does say when a character is KO'd, and then you get to reveal this. Use the bounty ability of one of your cards on the battlefield. Now I'm going to be showing a nice little synergy piece with this card, because technically none of our characters have a bounty ability. However, we're going to have a card that does allow a bounty ability. I'll show that one here in just a second. That way this combo makes a little more sense to you guys. Now that card is going to be Valuable Contract. Now Valuable Contract is a really interesting card, again coming with Wave 4 Black Pip card. It is an upgrade utility, which is really nice because it doesn't take away from our armor or our weapon slot. And it does say when the upgraded character does enough attack damage to KO an enemy, you get to use this character's bounty ability, or use this card's bounty ability. This bounty ability says you may go outside of the game and get another star card. Now this is really cool because you can actually go get any star card. Now I will address the star cards here in just a second because there was a new rules roundup that does specifically target these, so give me just a second on that one. But this is a bounty ability. This is a card that has a bounty ability, and while it is on one of your characters, it is yours. So with this card, it does say when a character is KO'd. So you can happily play this for the turn, play the secret action for the turn. You can flip Trypticon, eat one of your characters. At this point, this secret action does proc. And then it does say that when a character is KO'd, boom, you get to show it. Your character was KO'd because of Trypticon's ability, and now it says that you get to activate one of your cards on the battlefield's bounty abilities. That lets you proc this because now it gets to ignore the top half and just go to the bottom, which is a bounty ability. Boom, go get a star card. So it is a really nice little combo that you can do at any point, and then it even allows it on your opponent's turn. That if you happen to play this, let's say you choose not to chomp one of your characters, you attack with a little character, your opponent KOs the little character, boom, you get to flip this and then still proc this ability, get the star card on your opponent's turn, start your turn, you can even play that, you can kind of go kind of crazy. And then even with your Trypticon attack, if your Trypticon attack happens to just squash an enemy, then you do get to proc this card's bounty ability anyway because of the top text on it. So it's really nice, really fun that you get to be able to make sure you get some of these cards. For a while, I really wanted to try the Unleash Potential Ancient Wisdom combo. However, it's just a little slow. It was really hard to try to get online, whereas this I've managed to get 2 or 3 times every single game. Next card coming in here is a one-of is going to be Bashing Shield. Now, Bashing Shield is a really awesome card. It's an orange and a green battle icon, allowing us to be able to get it at the end of combat. Again, we have quite a bit of green pips. It does give us +1 armor, and then it is an armor that says when you play it onto a character, you get to scrap an enemy armor. So this is really nice to be able to, again, get rid of some of those armors our opponent has. Maybe it's even something as powerful as a composite armor. Even if it's just a force field and we're trying to get that big finishing hit, then this is really nice just to be able to kind of clean that up. Next 2 coming in here are going to be Backup Beam. So we talked about a bold, we talked about some of our bold cards in the action side. This is going to give us some bold in the upgrade side, and this is going to, I don't want to say guaranteed bold, but you're more most likely going to see it because it is a blue and a green battle icon, so that green allowing us to get it again. This is an upgraded weapon, so we are most likely going to be putting it onto our Trypticon. Sometimes we're going to be swinging with our little characters and we need to see a green pip, so sometimes I'll play it on those little characters just to help maybe push some black pips for the pierce damage, maybe an extra orange, and then hopefully see another green. So that is one play you can do with these, and this does give the upgraded character bold 2, so it does again allow us just to flip through a few more cards in our deck. Next one coming in as a 3-of is going to be Handheld Blaster. Handheld Blaster is a double blue battle icon, so just really nice on the defensive side of things. We really want to try to make sure we're maximizing. If our opponent has to waste 2 attacks into a character, then we're in a really good spot, but that also allows them to waste an attack and then us to choose if we want to use Trypticon's ability, which is really, really cool. And then obviously it does give us bold 1, so in those random chances that we need to maybe push to try to dig a little bit deeper for a green pip, for an incursion, whatever else, then we still can use the card and make sure that it is still playable. It is in there primarily for the double blue battle icon, but again, we at least can play it because the bold can be relevant. Next 3 coming in here are going to be Power Punch. Power Punch is an orange battle icon helping us out on attack. It is an upgrade weapon and does give us bold 3 until end of turn. Again, pushing the bold, trying to see more green cards, trying to get some more damage in via black pips with the pierce, or just getting in more damage just in general. Next 3 coming in are going to be Grenade Launcher. Now this card is just really awesome pretty much at all times. It is an orange battle icon helping us get that damage, and then does just give us +4 attack. It's really nice to be able to put on the little characters just because getting in for that extra 4 is sometimes very relevant. Sometimes these guys can get in for just playing this by themselves, can get in for up to like 10 damage with flipping a couple orange pips, and then if you can happen to like supercharge on them as well, you might be able to get in just big damage with these little characters, which is really, really nice. And then obviously you can put this on Trypticon just to really kind of get that massive big hit when you kind of need it at the end. And then the last three coming in here are a really, really fun one, a card that I always love to see and always love to play, and that is going to be this Erratic Energy Grenade. Now it is a black pip. This is a Wave 3 card, and this thing is really awesome. It is an upgrade utility, so it doesn't take away from our armor or our weapon slot. It does say at the start of your turn, do 1 damage to the upgraded character. Most of the time, never going to be relevant, but you never know. And then it does say when the upgraded character is KO'd, it does not mean that it has to be KO'd on your opponent's turn by your opponent's cards. However else, it just says KO'd. So even if you play this on one of your little characters and choose to chomp that character with Trypticon, you do get to proc this, and it does say do 2 damage to each enemy. Now this is a really, really fun card because in those situations where your opponent doesn't get to KO one of your characters, or even if you really can make this unavoidable for your opponent, you can happen to play Battlefield Incursion, you can bring out a character, play this on the character, flip Trypticon for the turn and eat the character, and you're guaranteed to get this ability off. Really good against Y teams, really good against teams that just, you know, you have a couple extra health left on those characters you need to finish off. Also, if you put this onto, I believe it is full tilt, you can happen to chew on him, he gets to do 2 damage to a character, and then that gets to do 2 damage to to every enemy character. So you can possibly be doing 4 damage to one specific character, which is a lot of damage. And then even if you are in this mode, you still get 3 damage on one specific character and 2 to everybody else. It is by far the most direct damage that you can just deal at a certain point in this game currently. And again, it's really stuff that your opponent cannot respond to. Most of the time you play this, your opponent happens to have a smelt and it's your only one, or they have a vaporize or a ramming speed. But this just straight up, you get to proc whenever you want, which is really, really nice. Now the one thing you do not get to do is double proc this card with Involuntary Promotion. Believe me, if you could, it would be way too powerful because it does swap all the upgrades to the new character before the other character is KO'd. So this does not get to like get KO'd and then bring it onto the character and then KO again. It doesn't get to work like that. But it still is really, really powerful. It is really fun stuff. And then if your opponent doesn't have a respond to it and you happen to leave it out for the turn, it can still get its ability off. But being able to munch the character with Trypticon is really, really cool. If you play Valuable Contract the turn before, and then you play this on a character, Battlefield Incursion that character out, and then like Brainstorm, Coop, flip a character, you start doing so much stuff on a turn. You're getting you're getting a star card, you're going to be able to deal 4 or 5 damage, be able to heal or get, you know, +3 attack. It can really get out of hand really quick. So this deck definitely has a lot of really fun interactions that you can definitely do, and you honestly, unlike a lot of other decks where it's like you have to pick and choose what's happening, you get to choose however you want these sequences to work out because of the way the cards are worded and because of you being able to KO your character whenever you want versus whenever your opponent wants. Alrighty, so now let's talk about sequencing. Now, sequencing is actually pretty basic in this deck. There's really not a lot of things that are going to come into play with it. Now, if you do get the chance to choose if you want to go first or second, in this deck, unlike Metroplex, where you have a debate really going first or second, I say you always, 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 always go second, and it's because you want to play a Battlefield Incursion. If you do get to go first, then you don't really ever want to find yourself flipping, because this is the mode where you get to chomp on something and get that heal 3, or you get to deal the extra 3. The 6 attack in here is nice, but losing that flip is actually very relevant, because then later on it takes another flip for you to flip back to here, play an Incursion, bring out another character. Now you can't flip that character, so if it gets KO'd, it's actually in a bad mode. So you always, always, always want to make them go first. Now with, making them go first, and that way you're allowed to play a card on your turn, and you're hoping that you have an Incursion. Now if you don't, at least you get to play an upgrade or an action, and you can kind of mess around with your plays just a little bit. But I make my opponent go first. They get 1 attack into you, which is pretty nice. Hopefully you either have an Incursion in your opening hand, you see one on the defense, or the next turn you get to draw. Now, saying we have one, which I like is, again, I always want to hope we do, I will play the Incursion, and I will bring out Wipeout. Now the reason why I bring out Wipeout is because he's the draw character. In the beginning of the game, the drawing 2 is actually far more relevant than trying to scrap an enemy weapon or armor, because it's really early in the game, especially at this point your opponent hasn't played anything, so trying to go for that is bad because then your opponent just KOs the character and then plays their upgrade, so you lose out on that. And then trying to get full tilt out, you don't need the 2 direct damage off the bat, so I don't rely on that until mid to late game, because you hopefully want to finish a character with the full tilt 2 damage. So I will bring out Wipeout, and then I get my flip for the turn, which puts him in this mode. So now when he goes down, I get to draw 2 cards, which is very, very relevant, and then we will throw this character out to try to get them into combat. Now assuming he is KO'd, boom, we get to draw the 2 cards, and if not, hopefully we picked up another Incursion and we can bring out another character. It is at this point where you kind of have your open play for it. You do have your choices based on what your opponent's doing. If they're heavy into upgrades or heavy into actions, then into the upgrades, then I would obviously bring out Brunt. Really nice to be able to helpfully get rid of some of those really annoying or pesky cards. And then at this point, you still totally can bring out the full tilt, and then you get to flip full tilt for the turn, and then you get to get in for full tilt. Now you're in a pretty good spot. It's even at this point you can Incursion, bring this character out, not choose to use it, and here you can even flip Trypticon to chomp on this character, draw the 2, and then you can even get in here, or you can just get in for the full tilt in this mode, because you're still getting in the 1 here, so it really just comes down to where the board state is. It's really hard to be able to kind of just scenario this thing out, but I know for sure the first turn you always want to do is make sure your opponent does get to go first. Now, if unfortunately you lose the die roll, rock, paper, scissors, poker hand, odds, evens, however you guys figure out who gets to go first, your opponent chooses for you to go first, then I definitely recommend that you still obviously stay in this mode, because you do have 2 armor in this mode, so you have a way higher chance of taking less damage because you have 2 armor versus 1 armor. So you just get to turn sideways, and then you get to kind of pray that your opponent doesn't KO you. They get their 2 to 4 or even 5 attacks directly onto you. If you go up against Constructicons and they're all black, you pretty much just lose the game. There's really nothing I can help you with there. It's just so much pierce damage, and because they're 6 wide, they just get in for so much. And then you do get to straighten, and that's when you have to hope and pray that you indeed fact have a battlefield Incursion, because if you don't, then unfortunately you get to play in action and upgrade, and then you get to attack in this mode, and then your opponent gets to go all into you again. So it is very, very important that you have those battlefield Incursions with that second turn, because you really don't want your opponent to all-out attack Trypticon twice. Once is bad enough. Twice is honestly too much, and I would tell you just to kind of go to game 2 and or game 3, just because your chances of coming back from it are very, very difficult. Even with being able to heal, repair, it is really, really difficult to come back, and you might just be wasting your own time and all that good stuff. So I did talk about how I was going to talk about star cards. There is a new rules roundup which does have our new floor rules that talks about star cards. Now this, I believe, is in response to something specific, but I won't get into that into this video. But your star cards can no longer just be outside of the game, wherever you have them in your car, down the street at your grandma's house. They do have to be included into your sideboard now. So your sideboard can consist of 10 cards. However, if you want star cards that come from outside of the game effects, they have to be into your sideboard, so they do take up cards in your sideboard. So the way that I do that with this now, with this new ruling, is we do get to run 1 Relentless Invasion main board, I run 2 sideboard, and then I also do run a Bolt of Lightning. So that does put 3 cards into my sideboard. I know I'm not showing my sideboard in this video today because I honestly only have like 5 or 6 cards on the sideboard, and it's because I haven't really gotten enough games under my belt to really tell you what's good, what's bad, what you side out. I haven't gotten to that point with playtesting the deck. I've only thrown it down about 5 or 6 times, and it's just yielded really good results just in the start of it. Obviously, there are some really rough matchups out there. Bugs, Blaster, all of those really high-tier decks are going to be a big problem for Trypticon. Trypticon definitely feels, for me, more of a mid-tiered character. You're maybe a little bit higher on that scale, but you are definitely going to be more of a mid-tier. This is more of a fun deck, more of a casual deck, more of you're going to have those matchups that you have good spots, and then you're going to have matchups where you get completely blown out. It just honestly really comes down to, you know, a few specific things. We also don't quite know what the meta is, so it's really hard for me to tell you how to sideboard because I don't know what's going on in your guys' area. However, if you ever have any questions about needing help with a deck, needing help with your sideboard, you guys know that you guys can contact me via our Discord, our email, or even just go and message me on Facebook. I will always respond to you guys, and I will always try to do my best to help you out when it comes to deck building. Alrighty, so there is my Trypticon deck. I really hope that you guys did enjoy this deck profile. I have had so much fun trying to put this together, and he honestly plays so much different than Metroplex, so if you think that you can just kind of throw the same deck together and play this character, you are very wrong because he plays very, very differently, and I actually love the fact that he does play very different because it does have a big distinction between the two, which is really, really awesome. You guys are going to be seeing some Trypticon action. I'm going to be throwing him up against Eric, who's rocking his Metroplex deck. Obviously, it is going to be a big match that you guys are going to see quite a bit. However, I think I have the edge on the video just because Eric is such a master when it comes to Metroplex. That guy has that character so figured out. He is by far, in my opinion, the best Metroplex player, so I figured what better challenge than to challenge the king himself. So we are going to be duking it out in a titanic match. So I hope you guys did enjoy this deck profile video, and I will catch you guys in the next one.